Kemlyn Tondapi again with Q's Blue World. So happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Today I am in New York Remedies Diner again with another exciting artist. And today we have the amazing poet and host of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, advocate of Wordz, Eric Maldonado. Welcome. Glad that you are here. Hello. So, advocate, tell us first, what on earth is spoken word for those people who do not know what spoken word is?
Well, spoken word would consist of like poetry and comedy, so it's literally in the name. You know, it's words that are spoken. Mm-hmm. That's basically it.
So tell me, were you a poet first before you went into spoken word, or did you just jump straight into spoken word?
I think I kind of just, I tried my hand at poetry. The way I really got in was in high school, my freshman year, I went to an all boys high school, and it was rough for me, right? Like going through hormones, it was rough. So for a long time, I had bothered my parents about changing schools. I went into a co-ed, and the first day of homeroom at this new co-ed school, this beautiful Dominican girl walked in and sat behind me. And I was like, that's it, like this is why I'm here, right? And then this Haitian kid walks in named Fenor. He's now my brother. We've gone on to be very great friends. And he came in and sat behind me next to her. And he was like, yo, Mary, I got this poem, Mary, you gotta listen to it. And he read this poem. Now, Kemlyn, I would love to tell you what the poem is, being that I'm a poet, but I don't remember. But what I did remember was her reaction. And from then, I was like, that's it, I'm gonna be a poet, right? Yes. And I started writing, but I was horrible, because I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Then I was working at an insurance company down near the World Trade Center, and I had started like a month or two before September 11th. September 11th happened, the company downsized, I was new, so they let me go. And like a lot of New Yorkers, I felt the need to reclaim my city. And I found the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Now, being that I'm from the Bronx, and I saw them doing their poetry, I was like, wait, I could talk a lot of shit myself, right? So I grew up in a place in the Bronx in between like a very seedy neighborhood, very hood neighborhood, and then a neighborhood where we used to say that the kids were 2 comma kids, $1 million kids, right? Yeah. Millions, there's 2 commas. So when I saw how everyone was speaking differently, and I realized like over my life I had become a chameleon just through speech alone. So I think I had really started in spoken word as opposed to poetry. I wasn't big on reading at the time. Reading was introduced to me as a punishment. So I didn't like reading while I was growing up, but I loved language. I had always paid attention to that. So I would say spoken word was my introduction into it. That's how I got in.
That is awesome. I mean, this is really important because many people, especially in school, if they have experienced any trauma of any kind, sometimes our school system adds another burden on our students because they think that all they need to do is read, write, and this causes a lot of stress on these students. When the important part is the love for language, right, advocate? It's like if you're jazzed up about language, you will eventually learn how to read and write. And if you want to pay the bills, you'll learn how to do that. Yeah. So I think sometimes we might be going about it backwards, but ass backwards? Never mind.
Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so that made sense to me.
Actually, it makes sense to me too because I also live with dyslexia. But this is about you, not me. So tell me, what are some of your achievements that you feel really proud of? I know that you come with a long bio of achievements, but personally, what do you feel really proud of?
That I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades. April is going to be my 20-year anniversary of being at the cafe. So I have taught many students over the years, and one of the things I'm very proud of is that I've been able to teach hundreds of students how to talk their way out of detention.
Yes!
I love that. So you know, that's one of them. The acceptance and the trust I get from the Nuyorican community is another big thing. And then of course, like some of the stages that I've gotten to be on, I've gotten to perform at the Museum of Natural History, MALBA, Lincoln Center. You know, those are awesome. But I think the big thing is like, you know, when when you get students that you run into 5-10 years later,
Yes.
and they tell you that they remember you or something sparked it. And I'm not just saying that like to be like politically correct or hip, but one of the things I worry about is like, am I wasting people's time? Kemlin, I have no problem wasting people's money, but I got a problem wasting their time. Like
Yes.
it just bothers me. So yeah, I think that's what I'm most proud of is students have learned how to talk their way out of detention,
Yes.
how to manipulate their parents, their guardians, you know, how to be able to talk to that cutie they've had their eye on for a while. Those are the things I don't, you know, I'm rebellious in many ways. Like I am artsy fartsy and bougie in my own way, but again, like I'm born and raised in the Bronx, and I'm rebellious, and I'm all with people like being humble, but I also think that people need to be selfish in a genuine way,
Mhm.
and a little rebellious, and we live in a world where everyone's trying to put us in a box.
Right.
And I think when we start to be able to grab a hold of our own language and expression, we're able to get out of that box. You know,
Yes.
and I think most of the problems in the world are because people aren't effective listeners, they're not effective speakers. You know, like it's a lot of the unknown is what we fear. But then when you get to speak to people from areas of the unknown that are unknown to you, it becomes less fearful. And we have a lot less problems, a lot less issues.
Right. And I have a question. You're a dad, right?
Yes.
So, what is one when you're talking about poetry, something you're passionate about? What would you say to your son about what poetry has done for you? And what would you wish for him? Would you want him to be a poet, or would you like something else for him?
Well, first off, I don't want that to be his career because financially it is challenging, right?
Yes.
Also as a parent, and as a teacher, I'm big on making sure that I am not imposing my politics on kids,
Yes.
including my own kid. I'm big on making sure that they don't sound like me. I'm strengthening their voice. That's what's important. So I don't know if it's something I've said to my kid, but what I've exposed him to. I've gotten to expose him to the world. I've gotten him on the Nuyorican stage. You know, he speaks up for himself, which is, I feel, really important. And, you know, he has his own likes and dislikes. And there are some things in the world we both like. There's some things that we're, you know, different on. So that's really huge. More than anything, that's been like huge, that he can say, well, Dad, I think differently. And being able to speak respectfully, you know, about it. So, but I will tell you, he is a Yankee fan. There's no other way. I would have disowned him. I forced that on him. And he is a New York Yankee fan.
So I have one more question for you, and that is, how do you feel poetry can change this world?
I think I answered it before. It's not necessarily poetry per se, because when I teach kids, right? When I go in the classroom and I teach kids, I understand most of them don't want to grow up to be a writer. I understand, but like I'm also thinking, well, what I'm teaching them, how can it help them right now and later in life? And I think it really is language. When you are an artist, most of what you're doing is not creating. Most of what you're doing is observing and thinking, right?
Yes.
Writer, painter, you're constantly observing and thinking. You see the memes online of people being like this, and then it's like, I thought you were writing. What do you think I'm doing right now? Like, right? Like it's processing. So it's language. It's being able to, you know, I don't want to get too much into it, but I grew up in a home where there was domestic violence, right? I'm not going to get too much into it, but people didn't believe me. And I always had, even when I tried to speak the truth, and I felt like maybe I couldn't find the words or whatever. So whenever you're able to give someone the power to speak for themselves, whenever anyone's able to develop that, not only are they able to free themselves by being able to speak for themselves, but they're also more comfortable listening to other point of views.
Yes.
They don't feel the need to overcompensate. When someone struggles to express themselves, I feel that they struggle with being able to listen to other people because they're trying to overcompensate. They're trying to shut people down right away
Yes.
before they can listen. And I feel that the more confidence you have in being able to express yourself with words, the more you are willing to listen to other people. Not necessarily agree, but you're willing to listen to other people's points of view. So, and especially in this country, in the United States, our politics are breaking up families. Not just communities and friends and people at work and colleagues, but families, because they're voting for different politicians. You know, and as the old adage goes, you know, you want to take people over, it's divide and conquer. And they're doing that with families. So if they're able to do that with families, it's going to be easy to do that with communities.
Yes.
It's going to be able to easy to do that with different cultures, with different cities, you know, and stuff like that. And then people retreat to an echo chamber and they stop growing regardless. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. You're welcome. They retreat to their echo chambers, and no matter what your politics are, what your beliefs are, your religious beliefs, whatever it is, you know, even what team you may enjoy, when you go into your echo chamber, you stop growing.
Yes.
And I feel that if you don't have to be a master of language, but if you're comfortable enough to be able to express yourself in a way that gives you confidence, you can step out that echo chamber. You know, we're not going to change the world by constantly speaking to the choir. That's how you divide. You know, so yeah, I feel like poetry strengthens people's language, their confidence in speaking up and being able to have discussions, and through that they're able to grow. I think it's able to open up more doors.
Man, the power of language, everyone. And I want to just thank Advocate of Words and the Nuyorican Poets Cafe for this wonderful interview. Any last words for our audience around the world?
Yes, I wish I could remember the person who made this quote about poetry, but I would like to let everyone know this quote. It's not mine, and I guess you could Google it and you'll find out who did it. I feel really bad not remembering who it is, but the quote is, "Poetry is chief for the arts. It's the easiest to dabble in, but the hardest to master." And I truly feel that about poetry. So people who are professionals are still figuring it out. So if you've never delved into it, it's easy to dabble in it. It's easy to get into it. So I encourage you to.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Loving the hair, by the way.
Thank you.